Okay. Welcome, everybody. So excited to be with you tonight. Tonight is by special request, and I'm hoping that the person or people that requested this will be on as well. So I'm waiting for a couple of our guests to be on. Sorry, I'm seeing one message real quick. Okay, so this month I'm focusing a lot on relationships. I'm focusing on the single adult program, that kind of thing. Next Sunday, though, will be more about fathers and the importance of fathers and that kind of thing in honor of Father's Day. And the week after, we're going to be having a webinar for online dating and pros and cons of that, because that subject has come up a lot, and I know that people have different opinions and experiences on that, so we'll be doing that. And then the last Sunday of the month, the last Sunday on the 29th, I think it is, we're going to be spotlighting the single adult program itself. And but tonight we're going to talk a little bit about it. So something I have learned is that different people, different single adults, come to a single adult event or activity with different expectations, different reasons for being there, different perspectives, which is really kind of awesome if you think about it. We're all kind of a melting pot of different experiences and perspectives and whatever, experiences in the church, perspectives in the church or in life or whatever. And to me, that is just so incredibly fascinating. And that's why I love doing this and getting everybody's different opinions and feedback and whatever, So it's just really, really cool. So throughout the time that I've been doing these webinars, I've had different people offer different suggestions, and I totally love that. Like, I'm so grateful for that, because I think it's helped. And it's given me different insight. It's given me, different ways of hosting them or whatever. And one of them, one of the suggestions that I had, and I think I had this from a couple of people, was getting people who had met at a single adult event and are still happily married. Now, there was a caveat to that, right? Because we've had people meet at single adult events and get married. A lot of them haven't stayed married. And then there are those that do, which is really, really awesome. So I've invited 3 different couples for tonight's webinar, and I'm not sure if the third one is going to be joining us or not, but I do know I've got 2 of them on here with me already. And then there's another couple that met at an event, and they are engaged to be married in 2 weeks, and I think they met last year sometime. So they're supposed to be joining us as well, because I wanted to ask them some questions, and this is really a night too for us to be able to ask these 2 couples questions, or if the third one joins us, we can ask them as well. But I want them to share their experiences with the single adult program, their perspectives of it, and it's okay if it's not all positive, although I always love it when it is. Because we don't always have positive experiences with the single adult program. As long as I've been involved with it, my experiences have not all been positive. So I want them to share their experience with the single adult program, their purposes for going, their expectations, and how it all played out. And I know, I think Raj and Rita have been married 8 years. Oh, what, am I not doing the numbers right? 9, 10 years? Holy cow, you guys rocking it. All right, and then Annette and Dave, I think they've been married 4. I'm totally guessing. They'll tell you. Anyway, and Cindy and Phil, if they get to join us, they've been married longer than that. I think they've been married, well, no, I think they've been married about 10 years as well. I knew them from North Carolina. And then I'm going to have Carl and Vicki on. Carl was well known throughout the Southeast just because of all of his attempts and everything. But Vicky's a little bit more quiet. We don't know her as well here, so I've invited them to join us as well. And I know they've known each other a year. Let's see. Oh, awesome. Okay, so I love how, and if you know, I have very strong testimony of the single adult program. I know that its underlying purpose isn't, or its purpose per the handbook, even if you will, is not necessarily to provide the dating service or to be a matchmaker or whatever. I actually had somebody call me over the weekend from my old state, because I moved in the last couple of weeks. And he said, hey, I was given your name as the single adult rep. I'm like, yeah, how can I help you? Kind of thing. I'm like, you need information about single adult events. I get those calls a lot, so I'm used to it. No big deal. I love it. And he's like, well, I was wondering if we could get together and you show me how to get on the Mutual app. I'm like, not my thing. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that's above my pay grade, people. But I just said, well, I don't really work with people with the Mutual app. I'm happy to give you information about the activities and events that we're having in the area. But when it comes to the Mutual app, I said, I don't do online dating. So, in the past I did, like years ago, but I haven't done it. But then he goes, but your profile is up somewhere. I'm like, please tell me where, because I need to take that thing down, because I don't know where it's at. But anyway, I don't know. So, oh, you're awesome, baby. Thank you. My son just made me a smoothie.
There's more. So that's
okay, great. So, anyway, that was quite interesting to me, and that this gentleman's perspective was that I could help him with a dating app. I'm like, not my thing. But anyway, I actually referred him to his stake rep and let his stake rep know, and let them take it from there. If he wants to spend time with them, showing them the Mutual app, go right ahead. But but the underlying purpose, or the purpose of the single adult program, is not necessarily to provide a dating service or be matchmaking or whatever. However, and with that said, there is no better place to meet somebody, if that is your purpose, if that is what you're looking for, than to meet them in person. That's my opinion. Gospel according to Paula Sherrill. Okay, meet them in person. It's worked well for me. Number two, be able to be in an environment of people that have your similar beliefs, whether or not you agree on every little thing, with the gospel, or whether or not you're at the same stage in the gospel, whatever. But you all have a general purpose of wanting to live the gospel. That's why we're showing up there, because that is what our ultimate goal is, right? Is that we want to be, a lot of us anyway, want to be married in the temple, or want to have, want to be able to have that forever family kind of thing that we've grown up believing in, or that we converted into the gospel to believe in, or whatever. So there's no better place to meet somebody, because what are our other options, right? Go clubbing, go to a bar, go online. And I know I'm going to have some people who've met online and are married when we do the online thing, because I do know a few of those too. But their experience will be different than those that met at a single adult event. And that's totally fine, right? Nothing wrong with that. But to meet somebody online is a little bit more of a challenge, shall we say, than meeting in person. And the single adult events and activities, the whole program is centered around the service, the fellowshipping, the socialization, that kind of thing. So, so with that said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite, let's go with Rita and Raj first. Some of you may know them a little bit more. We see them a little bit more often here in Georgia. They are the advisory couple now for the Fayetteville stake, and I think they've had that calling for almost as long as I've been in it. I know I've been here in Georgia working with a regional committee for about 7 years, and I think they may have spent about that much time there too or more. But I'm going to have them just kind of share their perspectives of the single adult program back when you were single and even now. And then also how you guys met, what your purpose in attending was, and I'm guessing it was to meet somebody. And then, just kind of how you've made it work through the years to be married for 10 years. And if any of you guys had the opportunity to meet them, I think they're even going to be at our Atlanta conference. These two are fun. They're a great couple. So let me turn it over to them. You guys need to unmute yourself, and if you need me to unmute you, I can. You're on. Uh-oh, we can't hear you. Can't hear you. Let's see. Let's test out anybody else. Annette and Dave. Oh wait, I can hear you better now, Raj. All right.
This is Carl. Can you hear me, Paula?
I can hear you, Carl. Awesome.
Okay.
All right, Rita and Raj, I think we might need to work on your audio there just for a minute, okay? So let me start with Dave and Annette, and then Carl, we're going to come to you and Vicki in a minute. And then Rita, when you guys get your audio worked out, just let me know that you guys are back in, okay?
Here's now.
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. Yay.
Okay.
Oh,
good.
no. Okay, so Dave and Annette, you're back on hold again. Let's go with Rita and Raj. Now that we finally
Sorry about
That's okay.
Sorry.
All righty.
Okay. So who you want to start?
How about we do it together?
Okay.
I'll
So
just jump in when I feel prompted.
of course I came from a divorce, and my best friend was in the single adult. She was the rep of the stake, and she was needing she didn't want to go solo to this dance. And so she said, come with me so we can, so I don't have to go solo.
She wanted a
And,
wing woman.
Yeah, she wanted a wing woman, exactly. So I said, okay, but I'm not really interested. I wasn't too much, like I said, being divorced and was married 18 years. I wasn't sure if I wanted to start looking for someone then, But so I went to the dance and I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. I wasn't in the prospect of looking for a husband or boyfriend. Just wanted to meet people. Just like we have you have a good time when you're at the dance and meet people.
Right.
And so we danced and we exchanged phone numbers and we just started talking to each other because he was in Tennessee and I was living in Georgia. So I said, I don't know how it's going to work, but I kind of didn't. What?
That's the best thing. Get to know each other first. Get to know each other. It doesn't matter whether it's in person or long distance. Get to know each other. Be honest with each other and be truthful and share everything about you.
So
Okay. Now, Rita, you had kids, right?
Yes, my daughter was 16 at the time, or 15, and my sons. I have twin boys, and they were 10.
Okay.
I had 2 kids too,
But you didn't have any living with you.
but they weren't living with me now.
So
Right. Okay. So you had kids living with you, and then Raj, how many kids did you have?
2.
Two. And they were living with mom.
their
Yeah,
mothers.
their mother, yes.
Okay.
So but I mean, it was a good courtship. We exchanged a lot of. We learned a lot about each other just talking over the phone. you know,
Right.
because we didn't have the opportunity to go on dates and stuff. And he'd come every 3 months, and, you know, we would do a single adult thing and just be in a group setting, you know, always do things in a group. And it was nice. You know, I was 35, 36 when I met Raj.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you guys have been married for 10 years, you said?
Yes.
Yes.
Going on 11.
Or maybe I was 38. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, we dated for a year.
Correction. Going on an eternity.
That's our plan. Yeah.
That's our dreams, our hopes.
Yeah. So
And you said you dated for a year?
1 year.
Yes.
Yes. We dated for a whole year. And just to, you know.
Correction. We talked on the phone for a whole year.
But that's dating. You know, get to know each other.
Yes.
And
How often did you guys get to see each other in person?
A couple times.
yeah, I made my first trip to Tennessee. I guess we were like 5 months dating, and then we just kind of he would do trips because it was harder for me with the kids being in school, and he didn't have any children living at home. You know, so it was easier for him to come and visit, and but it was really like I said, I don't know what you were saying. What was the other questions you were asking? How we look?
What was your perspective of the single adult program then?
Oh, perspective. Okay.
I was a single adult rep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just, you know, I guess I found out about the single adult program through my friend that was, you know, a stake, you know, she was in the stake, and that's how I went. So I would go to the potlucks, you know, the potlucks was fun,
Okay.
and picnics and stuff, you know. So the stuff that you're doing now is really good because it gets people out of their comfort zone and just get them to do different things. Because
Yeah.
someone, when you're alone, you're kind of scared, or not scared, but, you know, it's not as much fun when you're by yourself to go hiking and do stuff like that.
So looking back now, you know, you guys have been married for 10 years and you're still involved with the single adult program as an advisory couple. What is your perspective of the single adult program now? Has it changed?
Yes, I see a lot of improvement. I see more people. You see different people coming from different places. You know, I think it's very strong. I mean, we have a very strong group, and that's what I think helps. You know, all the leaders are together, and I like that you have that group conferences together.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
stay intact, and that wasn't existent before.
Sure. Well, what about the perspective of, say, the single adult program, like per the handbook, like for the purpose of it, or, you know, has that changed for you?
I don't know. Raj, I guess, did more of the. Did
Okay.
you do a lot of activities?
So, Raj, has that changed for you? Because I know you came in as a rep dating her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
know.
I don't really go by the handbook. I go by my feelings.
Yeah, I guess I could have guessed that, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, I do, but I don't go for it by word.
Right.
Word for,
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's good. It's from the prophets and
for
apostles and stuff, and it's good to read and it's good to follow, but you got to follow your heart and your spirit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Great
And
advice.
what's kept our marriage strong is, you know, of course, you're going to have your up and downs like normal, you know,
Yeah.
married couples. But we have the faith, like you were saying, that our faith is strong, and our motivation is to reach the goal of eternity. You know, I think that we have in common is,
Right.
and going to the temple is very strong. You know, those are You got to make those dates.
And we pray most mornings, but every night before we go to bed, I pray with her.
That's awesome.
So doing things together is really important.
Even if she's asleep.
You guys are so funny. All right. I'm going to come back to you guys, but when I come back to you, I want you to just be prepared to offer any type of advice that you'd like to give anybody, okay? So I'm going to come back to you.
Okay.
And then we're going to go to Dave and Annette. You know what I realized in asking all three of these couples is they were all long distance relationships, and I didn't really realize that when I asked you guys, because none of you lived in the same state when you met each other, right? So here we have Dave and Annette, two of my favorite people. All right. So you're on. So tell me how did you go into the single adult program? What was your perspective and experience? How did you guys meet? I mean, I already know some of this, but you guys can share it with everybody else. And then, what was that?
I was following Carl's example of going to a lot of events and never really committing. I was dating a lot of really fine girls, and my friends were saying, "I marry men," and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So.
Now, how long were you single?
Carl's example, I went to a particular event, found this girl, and that was it. It was just bam.
Yeah. Now, how long were you single, Dave?
Do I have to say?
Yes.
A lot longer than Carl, which is hard to say.
It's okay. Some of us have been single a long time, so it's okay. It'll give us hope.
That should tell you the caliber of Annette, that I waited that long, and then, okay, this is it.
I know, right? So how long were you single?
I didn't say. I don't think
I know. That's why I want you to tell me.
No.
So apparently it had been a few years, I'm guessing. All right.
Yeah.
So, and then Annette, how long were you single?
Well, I was single for quite a few years also. I was single but I hadn't been going to single adults.
Right.
Right. So in my case, I had newly become reactivated in the church.
Uh-huh.
And I had listened to a conference address. I love the priesthood session.
Yeah.
He was talking to the priesthood, telling them that I had been in 2 long-term relationships that both had failed. And I really was not interested in pursuing another relationship.
Sure.
But I heard that conference address where he said to the men, but I felt the Spirit prompt me that I wasn't doing everything I needed to do to have us, to be in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. Awesome. And so I was like, okay, Heavenly Father, I will find a single adult event to go to. That's all I committed to, was just going to one. And so I went to my first single adult event, which was a conference in Charlotte, and I met Dave.
Oh my goodness, for real?
For real.
I just told you that.
Conference, huh? Well, Rita, isn't that what happened to you? You went to one event? The rest of us got to put in so much time. Oh my God.
It's not fair. It's not fair, I know.
Well, I went to 2. I think it was 2 events.
Okay, well,
I went
that's a little bit better, Rita. Okay, and that went to 1. But Dave put in the time, obviously, right? So that made up for it, I'm guessing.
Yes, and then going back to what Brother Grisham said, we didn't let the fact that the miles between us stop us, So I may not have put in the time, but we both put in the distance and the miles.
Miles, that's for sure. Because Dave was in Georgia and you were in North Carolina, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, we dated for about 7 months. A lot of the dating was done at single adult events. And we would also date, sometimes just the 2 of us. We'd go on an adventure, hiking or something like that, and get to know each other. We got to meet each other's family. That was really important to us, was meeting each other's family, especially our extended family. His dad, his sister, my brothers. So that was something that we had in common. We both had family in Utah. So that helped.
Wow.
Well, the family dynamics, you just, and I just fit in very well with their family. They're all, I don't want to use the word engineers, but they are. Like, there's Carl's laughing at me again. So is Fred.
So,
I'm more than an engineer. I'm a whole human person who feels. Anyway, all of her brothers were cerebral, and and the nice thing about Annette is, if there was a problem, she could work it out. I mean, okay, here's a problem, let's figure it out. And I think that impressed me more than anything.
Yeah.
But I'm talking too much.
No, you're great.
that's awesome.
So we dated for about 7 months, and then we were sealed in the temple. And then our case is interesting because then we still lived apart part of the time after we were married. So
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And you guys have been married how long?
Well, we've only been married 2.5 years. We've known each other 3 years.
Oh, somehow it felt like 4 to me. I don't know why.
That's okay.
2.5 years. Okay.
Mhm.
And you guys are just so awesome together, like perfect for each other. All right. So what was your perspective of the single adult program? What did you feel like the purpose of it was back then? And has that changed for you since then? Like, for your friends or whatever?
I think for me, it was understanding the value of women. You go in and you are judgmental, can I say? But working with someone like and I can't forget names now, but like I better not use names, but people I would work with, I got such great respect for the women who are going through so many trials. I mean, really torture, but they still have that innate faith. And you're an example of someone who just is in there and working it out and holding to that. Men can't do what the women do. So anyway, I think that's what I needed to learn from the time that I was in, and just it was an eye opener.
Okay. That's awesome. Annette, did you have a thought?
Well, my thought would be I saw the purpose of single adults for me more than just a vehicle to date Dave, but that was part of it. But then a lot of it was the support system that's there. I mean, it's just amazing, and an opportunity to get to know other women and other men who are single and how they approach life and where they draw their strength from, and just that support and strength, and just the fun of it too.
Right.
And getting out of your comfort zone. That was a big part too. Getting out of your comfort zone, meeting new people, doing new things, going new places.
Well, there's also, it's a lifeline to some people. And I've seen people come in and not make it and leave. And I've also seen people who reach out to the less favorable, will I say?
Mm-hmm.
And Carl's an example of that. So is Fred. People who just need someone to be there, and they just those one little instances of where they have a friend and where they can come out. Right. I think that's what's really important with the single adults, that lifeline.
Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, I'm going to come back to you guys in a few minutes too for advice, but first I want to know, now I know you guys were long distance dating and then you were long distance married for a while. What have you done to keep your marriage strong and happy? You guys did not have kids going in, is that correct? Like did you have kids living at home when you guys got married?
Well, my son was still living at home when we got married, part-time. He would.
Okay.
But he was in his mid-20s then, so.
So you didn't have like minor children, correct?
No, right. No.
And then, go ahead.
But going back to what the Grishams were saying, even though we were apart, we tried to most days have a morning prayer together. It didn't happen every day, but most days, even if we weren't under the same roof, we'd have a morning prayer and we'd have an evening prayer. We would read some from the Book of Mormon. We try to do that on a regular basis every day together. So those are some of the things that we do.
Well, we're also studying techniques. And one we recommend is this one from John Lund. It's For All Eternity. Really, really good. One of the concepts that's really important is content communication. You know, no sulking, no
Hints.
right?
Just
No keeping it inside. You tell each other what's in there. And he has a lot of other techniques in there that are really great.
Okay.
So we're also reading some books on the sacred marriage, and I think those are good. So make it a study, and follow it.
Okay, awesome. We're going to come back for even more advice in a few minutes as well. Now, but I appreciate you sharing that. You guys are just so awesome. All right, now I'm going to turn some time over to Carl and Vicki. And Carl and Vicki are not married yet. I think they're getting married in 2 weeks. We actually canceled a single adult event here in Georgia so that we could all attend their reception. So we're excited about that. Carl and
Well,
Vicki.
it's actually only 13 days.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for correcting me there, Carl.
Well, first, let me say the teacher seemed to have taught better than he was an example. I mean, if Dave was able to get married, goodness gracious, I can get anybody married.
Oh, Carl. That's not even nice.
And it took me many years later after Dave for me to find somebody who could put up with me. And having said that, I do think I've been, so that you understand, I was married for 25 years and almost now divorced 8. So I've had a lot of time to live the single life. I don't mean to speak for Vicki, but she was married 22 years and has been divorced almost 2 years. The interesting thing probably in our relationship is that it took multiple meetings for us to finally come together. And I say finally come together. We actually met a year ago at a singles event. It's not an official singles event, but it's called Duck Beach. And if you know Duck Beach, you know there's hundreds and hundreds of singles who attend Duck Beach.
Right.
But that's YSA and mid singles and old geezers too. So you know that's a large group. But we actually met at Duck Beach. However, our relationship really didn't get going until and as everybody has already heard, yes, I went to everything. Okay, so we actually kind of didn't even dance when I went to a conference in West Virginia after that. And that was about a month after that. In September, I went to Raleigh, North Carolina for a singles activity of which she was there. And I will say that was really the beginning of our relationship. And we have not been separated per se since.
Okay, so in the meantime, between May, when you went to Duck Beach, and September, were you guys talking on the phone?
Nope.
No
No,
communication other than, oh, wow. Okay.
Nope. There was.
I mean, we knew each other, but we didn't really have any communication. I mean, there was you had mentioned Rock the Dock in like an email on something like.
Or any chance he gets, he'll mention Rock the Dock.
Yeah, so it probably went to everybody, and I mean, and I didn't go to Rock the Dock, but I mean, later in September, that's when we started talking and getting to know each other. And
She probably wouldn't have married me if she knew about Rock the Dock. So Rock the Dock coming up in just over a month and a half is going to be her first experience.
Oh my goodness. Well, Vicki, I'm just glad you're going to be married at that one. That will be good. No, I'm just kidding.
But unlike Dave, you know, he had a short distance relationship. You know, for me, you have to go 3 hours past Raleigh to get to Vicki's place. So it's an 8-hour one-way drive. That's the fast car, okay? But fortunately, what we lacked per se in the first few months of never even communicating with one another, once we actually connected in September, and because I have a really good work schedule, I work 1 day a week, and she has a really kind of cool work schedule in that she owns her own business and she's able to kind of assign people working. So we had a lot of flexibility between the two of us to spend a lot of time together. I will say that our second real date was at the Atlanta Temple /dinner/dance in October. So there's no doubt that our entire relationship got started as a result of attending and going to single adult activities.
Okay, so Vicki, this question is for you. What was your perspective, or what is your perspective of the single adult program?
Actually, I think we have really great activities, all the conferences and the dance. It's like they don't really have much for married people. And in a way, it's like, wow, that's kind of something that might be lacking and something that's going to be missing.
Rock the Dock too.
Okay, so what do you feel like is the purpose of the single adult program?
Oh, absolutely, to meet other singles and to meet friends, to meet possibly your spouse.
Okay, awesome. So, so you guys are getting married in a couple of weeks, and the people will be very curious as to to see and follow your marriage, I'm sure, on Facebook or whatever. But because Vicki, you might have guessed, Carl's pretty well known among the Southeast here, and he's branded himself well as a go-getter as far as conferences and other single adult events goes.
Through withdrawal.
I'll bet. I wouldn't doubt that at all. But anyway, so it's been kind of funny the reaction of some people whenever they hear that Carl's getting married. They're like, wait a minute, Carl's getting married? It was a woman that got Carl? Look at that. So even my oldest son was like, wait a minute, that's like a miracle. So it was kind of funny. But yeah. So we're excited for you. But I was just curious, because you guys did go about it in a way where we hear a lot of people who kind of meet and then rush into it. Or they meet and then they're engaged 3 weeks later, or they're getting married, a month or two later, or whatever. And not to say that's wrong. That's I'm sure that's right for them and whatever. But in the time that I've been in the leadership for single adults in the last 7 years here in Georgia, I've seen people marry and divorce. Some people have been married and divorced twice in the time that I've held this position, and a lot of it is they're rushing into something. Now, you guys didn't, and it could be an opinion of different people. I know that you've known each other a year, and then you've been dating, I guess, 9 months of that year. Am I right? Am I doing the math right? 8 months, something like that. So, so for some people's terminology, that's not necessarily rushing into it, right? Like I know Dave and Annette met and married in 7 months. That's still a little less than a year, but that's still totally fine. I mean, most people, they have different opinions on what's rushing into it, per se. So what do you feel like you've done to help your dating relationship develop in a very healthy, solid way to be able to get to a point, to be able to make the decision and the commitment to be married?
Well, like Carl said, we've been able to spend time together to get to know each other. And we've both been, I would say, committed into trying to get to know each other, spending the time, spending the money to travel back and forth and see each other, go to the single events and see each other there, or what other activity we're going to be doing.
I will add to it that one of the very first conversations after re-meeting, and I say re-meeting, from September, is I laid out to Vicky, this is how Carl sees things. And that doesn't mean it's right for everybody else, okay? But this is how Carl sees things. And for me, I laid out that there's a time that we, both of us, are totally available, open to be dating others. There's a point in time that we, and if there's milestones, if you want to call it such, there's a point in time that we then both agree to be mutually exclusive. And then the next step is engagement. And then, of course, the next step is temple marriage. We only found out Friday from Salt Lake that we have been cleared now for the temple. But that's always been our goal, is to get married in the temple. So I would say that there was, I'm going to say, 4 distinct phases within our relationship. And the reason why I kind of came up with that, if you want to call it such, is that, how do I say this nicely? There were many ladies I was interested in who weren't interested in me. And there were many ladies, who were interested in me that I wasn't interested in them. We happened to have been on the same page and that we were interested in each other. And that's probably the hardest thing when you're going through years and years of being in the single adult program, is finding somebody who is equally yoked for you. And it so happens that, I've said this to many, many ladies, this is how I view it. Look, I don't want you being mad at me because we've had one date and I'm having a date with somebody else. But at the same time, there's a time that we take the step. And that step is we're mutually, them becoming exclusive. And we've just been on the same page, this entire 8-month journey, albeit a year, whatever. We've been on the same page, and through this whole process. So for us, it is because we had the flexibility with time. I was able to spend 5 days a week with her, be it here in North Carolina where we are now, or be it there in Georgia, So we were able to put in a lot of time that most couples, that get to spend a weekend with each other, never get to that period of time of being able to put it in. But, knowing that you're both on the same page with where you are in the relationship probably helped us to continue to grow the relationship.
Okay. That's great. Now I'm going to come back to you guys for dating advice for anybody else that, if you have any other dating advice that you would like to offer anybody, or any other advice you want to offer to anybody who's attending single adult activities or events with the hope or intention of finding somebody, okay? So let's go back to Rita and Raj. And I want to talk to them or ask them, so I've given you some time on, or to think about any advice that you'd like to offer the single adults on anything.
Honesty.
Honesty?
Honesty.
Awesome.
You have to be honest. You have to accept the honesty from the other person.
See, when Raj told me he was interested in marriage, he says, I want to have a temple marriage.
Mm-hmm.
His last 2 marriages were civil marriages, and they didn't work out for him. And he feels like the temple, we didn't get into a temple marriage until a year. I wasn't endowed, so I had to wait to be endowed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did the civil marriage, and then, of course, meeting each other, living together, learning each other's ways, because, just getting to know each other takes a while. and he says, we need to be temple married. I know our relationship will grow stronger and our marriage will be stronger. And sure enough, I got endowed, and then the week after we got temple sealed, and it was just, I mean,
Magical.
it changed our relationship. It changed our marriage. It strengthened us. So I do recommend being sealed in the temple, because now I know the difference.
But you have to both want it.
Yeah,
You have to
it has
both
to be
want the
mutual.
relationship to work.
It has to be mutual, you know. So that's my feel.
Okay. Awesome. Any other advice that you'd want to offer to anyone about the single adult program, or that may be attending events or thinking about attending events or anything like that?
I think they should go more than once or twice, you know. Some people just come, like they were saying, I heard the other couple say about, they just went, you know, people come and it's like a revolving door. You see different people. I think people need to really give it a chance. I mean, it might not be the right, you know, maybe that first time might feel awkward or, you know, but I think to be in the single adult program, they should keep going.
Well, I was in the young single adults for a long time. Then I got married, and then I got divorced.
Uh-oh. I think we just lost them. Oh. Are you guys back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think it went.
That's okay.
Stay strong, stay true to yourself, stay true to your Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. And the Holy Ghost will be with you.
Awesome. Now, I know I've talked to a couple of people, even recently, even as recent as last night when we went to a single adult event there. Had somebody, a friend of mine from my ward, or my old ward, come in, and he's like, Paula, there's not too many women here my age. And he hadn't been in like 2 years and been to an event. And I'm like, just give it some time, you know? He came in late. He didn't see anybody that would be a potential for him, and then he left. And so I love your advice of giving it time, and that's what I recommended for him. I said, make a commitment, even if it's just a 6-month commitment or a year commitment, or like some of us and Carl and Dave have alluded to, putting in years. I mean, I've been single 11 years. It is, you know, and we don't know the Lord's timing. We just don't, right?
Exactly.
But, you know, not all of us can be as blessed as Rita and Annette and meet somebody on their first or second event. You know, sometimes some of us have to invest a few years to do this, or some time anyway. So I love your advice of giving it time, giving it a chance, and not expecting it to happen on the first go around. Not to say it can't, because, you know, I did for Annette, but that is rare. It is so rare. I can't tell you how rare that is.
You're right.
So, you know, I love that.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Everything works on God's schedule, God's time.
Right.
Not on us.
Yep. Now, I know some of you have some questions that you want to ask the couples. I'm just going to turn it over to Annette and Dave real quick for their advice, and I'm going to open it up for anybody else that has a question, okay?
Okay.
So Dave and Annette, what advice do you guys have?
Well, this goes against the Lord's time and everything. Maybe it's a technique and mechanical, but
Engineering you?
I'd get a life coach. And by a life coach, I mean somebody who's a friend who might know you, who's willing to tell you exactly what you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do that, and listen to them, or hire someone. But make yourself more attractive.
You can pay me anytime, Dave.
No, we can't now.
I've already paid you. Carl was my Vicki. Carl was my wingman many times. He tried to help me, but it didn't work until I met Annette. So what can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just meet the right person. That's awesome.
And I'm just going to say this, like, you know, I may have only gone to that first event and met Dave, but for me to go to that first event was huge.
Huge.
I was 56 years old. going to my very first event in a city I wasn't familiar with. I mean, well, not that familiar with, and I knew that it was something I had to do. And even just finding that event, that's the other thing, is that I had to search to find it because I wasn't already connected with, the groups, the single groups. So it took a lot of effort. It may have sounded like, oh, she went to the first, but anyway, just telling you that.
I can make it sound real simple, right?
Right.
No, I know. And I know you, and I know that did take a lot of courage. It took a lot of planning, and it took a lot of gumption for you to do that. So, and for a lot of people it does. And am I correct in that you went by yourself?
Yes, I went by myself.
Super huge.
And
super huge.
The funny thing is, going back to what you were saying about staying, when I went, so it was a conference, I went Friday evening. I just went Friday evening just so I knew how to get there.
Right.
And I just stayed for maybe the first 20 minutes of the dance. So I didn't see Dave when he came later that evening.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't meet him until I went back the next day on Saturday for the, for the classes and all of that. And then I met him. But anyway, yeah.
Awesome.
So if I'd only gone to that one part of the dance that one evening, I would never have met him that time. So anyway.
Yeah, you just got to put in the time, put yourself out there, and it's hard. It's hard. And like I say, I dated a lot of really fine women, and you know that, but it didn't gel until I met Annette. It's just time.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Carl and Vicki, we're going to come back to you a little bit later on the dating advice. For right now, I want to open up to anybody else that's up here, and I think I've got everybody up here on the panel that can be. If any of you have any questions for these couples, fire away. Heidi, I know you had a question.
Yes, I have a question. So my question is, they always say that you can't find love until you love yourself. And so my question is, we're always in a progression of progress of ourselves and gaining more knowledge and becoming better for ourselves if we choose to work on it. So how do you know, like, do all of you feel like y'all were all in a place of completeness by yourself before you met each other, or do you still feel like you're kind of on that journey and you're doing it together? Because it's kind of frustrating, like, well, when do I know that I'm at a point that it's okay for me to actually try to be in a relationship with someone? I'm constantly working on myself. I'm constantly, I go to therapy, I read, I study, I'm aware of my thoughts and try to work on my issues of insecurity and trust and things like that. So did y'all all know or feel like y'all were in a really good place personally on your own of fulfillment and wholeness before you met each other?
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead, Raj.
I don't love myself now truly and fully. I love my wife. She loves me. So in return, I love me for that. I've never loved myself after my accident. I had a hard time and a difficult time even putting up with myself or liking myself, and let alone loving myself. I know the God's plan, and Jesus Christ's plan, we have to love everybody, including ourselves. But
And the accident, Roger, just to clarify for those listening, the accident you're referring to is a car accident, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That was it.
I'm through.
Well,
Okay.
for me, I say that I thought I was ready. When my divorce was finalized, I thought I was ready. Having said that, obviously, Heavenly Father didn't have the right person for me get divorced until 6 years later. So I had to wait 6 years just for her to be even, get to a point of becoming available, let alone her being ready to get into a relationship kind of scenario. So sometimes it's not always you and your time. Sometimes, it's got to be that equally yoked person's time that they're ready also. And so, I can't explain why, Heavenly Father ever get divorced, 6 years sooner. But it is, what I had to go through, to be ready, I guess. But I feel I was ready, many a years ago. So in one respect, yes, you got to get to a point of getting over what had happened in the past. In my case, a 25-year marriage. So you got to get over that, no doubt. But sometimes you're ready, but it's just not the timing yet.
Okay, so we've heard from a couple of the men, which is awesome, and we appreciate your comments. I want to hear from the ladies, and I want to clarify Heidi's question to make sure that I understand it and that everyone else does. She's asking, Heidi, if I heard you correctly, about self-love, about self-esteem, about self-image, and about how you feel about who you are, and are you ready, or when you feel like you could be ready for a relationship to love someone else, because when you have self-love and you have that self-confidence and that self-trust, then you're ready and available to have a relationship. Am I saying that right, Heidi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want to hear from the women on that one, and then after we hear from the three women in the couples, if anyone else wants to offer any other insight to that, I want to open that up as well. So who wants to start? We got Rita, Annette, or Vicki.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Well, it kind of depends on the individual too. If she doesn't feel ready, maybe she's not. I think everybody that's been divorced has been through some hard times and things they need to get through. And it's, different time for different people, how they're getting through it and what's going on in their life. So I would say it would depend on each person individually, whether they feel ready or not. And if they don't feel ready, maybe they're not. I really don't know how to answer that any better.
Did you ever go through a period of self-doubt or maybe low self-worth, of feeling like, who's going to want me? Or where you were doing a lot of negative self-talk of, you didn't feel like you were worth or worthy of someone loving you? Did you ever go through anything like that?
I would say those kind of thoughts can come and go. I don't think anybody's perfectly, well, maybe there are some people that have perfect self-esteem, maybe was what I'm getting at. But I'm sure many people have self-doubt, and including, I do from time to time, it's like, oh, this is, this is that, and just have those negative thoughts go through your head. And I think that's probably normal. And I don't think it's abnormal to have negative thoughts from time to time, and
Okay. And then how are you able to move past that to feel like you were ready to love someone else, to be able to be in a healthy relationship?
I think a lot of it is willing to try, willing to accept myself, and willing to get out there and try and find that person. I wasn't going to let things get me down that much. There are negative things that happen, especially out there, trying to date. And there are negative things, absolutely, that happen. And it can be really hard. And if you're going into it with maybe a bit of low self-esteem, it could be even harder, when something happens out there in the dating world. But, just keep picking yourself back up and trying again.
Okay, awesome.
But if you're not ready, you're not ready, because it can be hard, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I wouldn't push somebody out in the singles world that isn't ready either.
Right, definitely. All right, Rita, what are your thoughts on that?
I want to tell, I was married for 18 years, and in a really rough marriage. And I had to go through therapy for my self-esteem. And I think the therapy helped a lot. And then I did the divorce classes after I got divorced, because, you know, a divorce is like death. You know, you just feel like, what did I do wrong? You just have all these doubts about yourself. And I think you need to find help when you feel worthless or selfless, or, you know, a lot of things just, it's really hard, and you don't want to bring that into another relationship. So I think going to therapy is very helpful.
So
and seeing a
Rita,
therapist.
Rita, how
I
did?
even went to a few of those classes.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. How was it? How did you feel like you were at a point though where you felt like you were ready for a relationship? Then, did you still have some of those self-doubts when you were dating Raj?
I did.
Okay. Uh-oh, we lost her again. Okay, Annette, let's go on to you, and we'll bring back in Rita in a minute.
Okay, I'd say that at the time when I met Dave, I was pretty confident about myself.
Okay.
I'd been out of a relationship for a couple years, and I was, you know, discovering who I was, what it was I liked. You know, I'd been on a quest to improve my health, so I'd lost quite a bit of weight, and I was feeling good about myself. The thing I'm going to offer, though, is that there's a difference between being independent and being interdependent. And that's been an adjustment for me. Like, living alone is not the same thing as being in a relationship and being confident in that relationship. So, so it's a little different. So anyway, I just want to pass that out there.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, when you're independent, you decide things on your own. You make your own decisions and you're in charge. But when you're interdependent, it's a relationship. You're talking about things together, and it's more of a balance. It is a balance. You know, it's not just me determining what I want to do. It's us figuring out together what's the right thing.
Okay.
So it's different.
And Dave, we didn't hear from you earlier when the men were speaking. Did you feel like you were very confident in yourself and had self-love to be able to have the relationship with Annette? Or did you feel like that evolved with your relationship with Annette?
No, I had self-confidence. I just
We have to go.
just needed to find the right person. I needed to learn to respect women,
Right.
to value them, and recognize Annette when she showed up.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, now let's go back to Rita, because we had lost her earlier. She was in the middle of giving us some advice. Rita, are you with me? Rita?
We gotta. We'll be back in a minute.
Okay, all right, no problem. All right, anyone else have any other questions? Any other comments you want to? Hold on. They're having a family gathering. Let me mute that real quick. Okay, having a reunion of some kind. Maybe kids came over. I don't know. Okay, I'm just seeing hugging going on. All right. So, hold on. Okay. All right, there you go, Rita. So,
Okay.
do you have any other advice you wanted to share about that, about the self-love? Did you feel like your self-love kind of evolved with your relationship with Raj, or do you feel like you were already there before you started that?
I was still growing. I was still trying to find myself, you know, when I met Raj.
Okay.
But he really, yeah, so it was like I wasn't really all the way feeling like confident, you know. It just, how can I say it? I just went through a lot of pain and suffering, and my self-esteem was so low. It was so hard. It was hard.
Right.
But he helped me get out of that feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Heidi, I hope that helped. Did anyone else want to offer any insight to that, or any other comments, questions? You do just.
I'd like to say one thing about a statement I made earlier about loving myself. I don't love myself. Well, technically, I love the Godhead. So, in a sense of that, I have to love myself because they created me. But I just don't like my infirmities. That's what I should have said.
Imperfections.
My imperfections.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I love how Vicki made the comment. And I don't know, Vicki, if you even meant to say this specifically, but she said, willing to accept myself. And I think we all need to get to that point where we're willing to accept ourselves, imperfections and all. And that took me, I know, a long time to get there, because I have my son, when we were moving, she goes, Mom, if no one's told you you're a perfectionist, you're a perfectionist. I'm like, no, I just want the screws going into my desk the right way. Anyway, so anyway, it was just kind of funny. But I have, and I've told you guys before, I'm like a personal development junkie, and it's something that I love just being able to work on. I think, Heidi, you and I have that in common, is that we're trying to evolve and become our best selves, right? But there did come a point where I had to accept and just kind of calm my mind down about the imperfections and the flaws and the stuff that I may or may not fix, and be okay with that. And that's okay. It took me a long time to get to where I was at that point, because the woman you see today did not exist 15 years ago. I was incredibly insecure, had very low self-esteem. I had very little, if any, self-love. And hence the reason I got into very negative relationships. And I knew coming out of my last marriage that I needed to do something about that. There was something about me that was attracting the toxic. And I needed to somehow work through that. And through therapy and different means, I've been able to do that. Now that I repel toxic, which is kind of cool. And being able to see that has been just kind of eye-opening. Whenever I hear that man can't stand you, I'm like, oh, I know why. You know? And I've only had that experience a handful of times or less, but it was because he couldn't get to me, he couldn't control me, and he couldn't stand it. And I knew that about him. I know the signs. I know what it looks like. I know what a toxic relation or a toxic controlling type person looks like. And we don't have many of those that show up at single adult events, but we have, a few every now and then. And but being able to recognize that has been huge for me in being able to do that. So yeah, and I got to a point where I was just okay and willing to accept, like Vicki said, who I am, flaws and all, and be okay with sharing that with someone else. And it doesn't come easy, but it does come. Anyone else have any other comments or insight? Any other questions? Anyone else want to ask any other questions to the couples? All right, well, if you guys think of any, let me know. But for now, I'm going to turn some time over to Carl and Vicki for advice on, let's talk about attending single adult events. Let's talk about dating and the best way to go about doing that, whether you do live close by or in a long distance relationship.
Well, I guess the best thing I can say is many years ago, my branch president, if you know where I live, it's a very small community. And I let them know, my branch president, that, look, I'm going to be going to any and all singles activities I can go to because I don't know where my future wife is going to show up at. And so that has always been, and those of you who know me the longest know I've gone California,
Far and
Vegas,
wide.
wherever, okay, because my priority was finding my eternal companion. And so first and foremost, I let my branch president know that, look, because I'm not there, 1, 2 times a month, doesn't mean I'm I'm an active member of the church. It's just that I'm going to be at sacrament in wherever. And that was very important for me in defining that I have a search going on. I have a goal going on. And that search goal, obviously, is to find my eternal companion. And so sometimes it takes a lot of time. And sometimes, Annette, you can show up one time and boom, it's it. It's all over. But, sometimes for you to find the right person, it takes time. And you can never shortchange yourself by saying, okay, I'm going to go to this activity and then I'm not going to go for another year or two. Well, I think that if you have the goal, and the goal is finding your eternal companion, if that is your primary goal, then you should be doing everything you can do to make yourself available. Just make yourself available to be able to be meeting others. You may not. I mean, have I been on all these online dating Mormon sites also? Yes, but that's not where I met Vicky. But I was on all of those sites because I didn't know where I would meet my future companion. And did I meet ladies on some of those sites? Yes. But obviously, for whatever reason, it wasn't meant to be, and it took time for me to come up with the right companion for me. And so once you've made that decision that finding your eternal companion is the top priority in your life, then you'll make time to make it happen, be it Atlanta regional activities, be it anywhere. That's what I've got to say.
Can I say something?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
I was a single adult rep for a while back in Seattle, and it was pretty depressing to admit that you had to do that. But what I found is you go to dances, and here would be these two people come in, and they have the BMW, they have 6-figure incomes, they have all the right clothes, and a guy and a girl, and they just never meet anybody. But then here comes in the guy who's a dishwasher, and he's overweight, and he has the pocket protector, and the girl over there, she has 5 kids, and she's not that good looking. They see each other across the room. They go and they've never danced before. They go, they dance, and 5 years later, you meet them again at a PTA meeting. And you can't predict, but you just have to put in the time. It's hard, it's tough, but I think that's the biggest factor.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, there is there is a lot to the single adult events. There's a lot to not only planning or being a part of it or attending. There is a lot of a commitment that comes to that. Something though that Raj, I don't know where you were at. I know Dave and Carl a little bit more because I didn't know you back when you were single. But I do know that I can tell you both of these men were at church every Sunday. Both of these men had temple recommends and used them. They would go to our temple events. I have heard many women say, single women, say that, when we have our temple events, because like here in Atlanta, we do a second Saturday temple session at 3:00. And we have a lot more women than we have men, which is, typical in any single adult event, I guess. But what I've heard some single women say is if I don't see them at the temple, it's less likely I'm going to date them. Because they want to know that they're going to find a man that's going to be solid in the church, that's going to have a temple recommend and use it, that's going to be a leader, if you will, in their home, or an example of living the gospel. And, you know, so for Vicki and Annette and Rita and Raj, we can get to you two in a minute. Just because I knew them, like when we did the second Saturday Temple thing, they were there a lot. Vicki and Annette, how did that play into your choice of dating them? Did that play into that at all? Was that something that was a priority to you?
For me, I wouldn't have dated Carl if he didn't have a temple recommend. That's very important to me, and it just wouldn't have gone anywhere if he didn't have a temple recommend and if he didn't go.
Right.
So it would be very important, yes.
Okay, awesome. Annette?
Yes, for me it was a critical point. That was our our second date that we had, was when I came to Atlanta to do a Touch the Temple and to see that Dave had a temple recommend and was able to go to the temple. Before he came to see me at North Carolina, in my home, I knew that he had a temple recommend.
Right. And you didn't really have to ask, hey, do you have a temple recommend? You saw him in the temple, right?
Exactly.
Be like,
That's
hey,
it.
you know, I found other creative ways of asking that question. But anyway,
It was our second date.
it was your second date?
I'm saying our second real date was going to the temple.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Love it. All right. And I know Dave even proposed to Annette at the temple. I was setting up for a dance that night, and they came in and shared with me the news. I think that was the first one. Wasn't I the first one you guys told?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Well,
I thought it was at Rock the Dock.
no.
Well,
That was her at the temple.
that was where the chemistry was beginning. There's a long story. We'll tell you that
Another
offline.
time. Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot.
Yes.
Carl has been the catalyst for, I think, more than one romance. And you've got a great guy there. I don't know if you realize it, that he's just he's
awesome.
Wonderful. One of our favorites.
All righty. And Rita and Raj, how did that play into you guys? The temple or the going to church or that kind of thing? Are you guys still with us?
She didn't have a temple recommend until after they got married.
What was that?
She didn't have a temple recommend until after they got married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had said
You guys
that.
were married civilly, correct?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah, you guys shared that.
We married civilly, and then we got sealed in the year after.
But were you
No.
guys, so I'm guessing you guys were still like going to church and that kind of thing in the meantime, correct?
Yes, we went to church. We kind of helped each other out on
Okay.
that situation, because I wasn't going every Sunday and she wasn't going every Sunday, and
So then you guys were just good for each other and helping you get to where you wanted, because apparently that was your goal, right? Am I right? Because she said you guys went to the temple a year later, correct?
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. All righty. Now, let's open this up a little bit more. Let's expand on this. We talked about three different couples who met at a single adult event. Now, and while, single adult events per se are not, dating services, and I'm not going to be matchmaking unless you're super close to me and I really, really like you a lot, and then I'll try, but otherwise, just in general, I'm not going to do that. But how, anyone else have any other questions or comments or insights that you feel like you've gained? Heidi, I really appreciate your question, because that was an awesome, awesome question. Anyone else have any other questions or insights or comments that you'd like to add to this?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who responded to the question, but especially Rita. Rita, because of your level of personal growth and awareness that you still had some growing to do once you got into a relationship with your husband, that you were still growing gives me hope. Because I myself, I do connect with Paula on this level of perfectionism and being a perfectionist. And so when you're a perfectionist, shame loves you. And so I just found some comfort in the hope that you provided, that even if I'm not in a really great place personally per se, that I still have hope to be able to maybe complete and continue that progress with someone else. Because I really don't think that I'm ever going to get to a point where I could say, check, I'm completely ready. I completely love myself. I'm completely just fabulous and I'm full of confidence. And, I just don't feel like I'll ever get to that point. Because if I'm waiting for that, I'll never find anybody ever. Because it's going to just be a constant journey for me. And just a little insight for the couples about me. I've never been married. I've never experienced marriage. I do have 2 children. And my 2 different fathers, and so this is very scary for me. I didn't see marriages work. My mother was married and divorced 3 times in the temple by the time I was 21. So this is really scary for me. So I really just appreciated that there are people on different levels who still can find someone and can go on that journey with them. But thank you all for your comments and your insight, and congratulations to everyone.
That's awesome. Yep. And I don't know if you guys picked up on it too. Annette had been not active in the church for a while, and she had also reactivated or had started coming back to church. I don't know if reactivated is the right word, but had started coming back to church as well. So we do all come at it from different directions and different perspectives and different experiences. It took me, Heidi, a long time to accept that there would come a time when there would be a man that would be okay with me, with being married 3 times and having 5 kids by 3 different men, and all my baggage that is still a part of my life. And it's I'm not going to go into all of it because just don't need to, but there's a lot to it, and not that there weren't men that weren't, but like I don't know who was it said that you just didn't really click. It just wasn't the right one or the right circumstances or whatever. So and it's huge, and trusting in the Lord's timing and helping and getting us to a certain point where I love how Carl brought up and I know I watched Carl these 7 years that I've known him, or however long it is I've known him, seriously, like all over the world searching and going to different things. And his wife, or future wife, was still married while he was out there searching, right? She wasn't at a point where she was ready. And that is something I do really believe is it's not just us that has to be ready, it's also the other person for us to be able to come together. Maybe they're still working on something. Maybe they're not at a point. Heidi, maybe your husband or the man you're going to marry still has something else to work on. Maybe he's still got something else he's got to do before you 2 meet. And so then he can be worthy of you and being able to be who you need and how you both need together. And I really feel that. I mean, Dave wouldn't tell us how long he'd been single, but I'm guessing it was a few years. And Dave and Annette both had to come together where they were both ready and on the same page to be able to meet. That's probably why Annette only had to attend 1. But what it took her, knowing Annette, what it took her to get there was huge. And to go by yourself to the first event, oh, can't admit that one. that took a lot. So yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you guys sharing your insight and sharing your stories and your advice. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to anything?
There's something I'd like to say, and you've heard this before, Paula, is if you look at the way that the Savior treated women, the women at the well, Mary and Martha, and his mother on the cross, and guess who was the first one he appeared to? It wasn't a man, wasn't an apostle, it was Mary. So knowing that, and this was a time when women were treated like dogs, literally like dogs. So knowing that, you're going to be taken care of one way or another. No one can promise you that it'll be in this life, but if you remain faithful, he's going to make the guys pay. You know, us guys that looking for the perfect woman, well, we found it, but they will pay.
I want to add a little something. I saw someone posted something about to stay on the right path because you don't know who might be following you. I also added on to there, you don't know who's waiting ahead for you, you know, so stay on the right path. It could be the person that your companion is either following and they'll be catching up and eventually you'll be together, or maybe you're going to catch up to where they are and you'll be together. So.
Oh, I totally love that. That's awesome.
Paula, I wanted to say thanks to you too, because of your advice on the last time, you told me that you pray for your future husband, and I have never ever done that before, and never even thought to do that before, and so that is an addition that has been added to my prayer. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Yep. Oh, that's fabulous. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I mean, you know, it happens in the Lord's timing, and trusting in the Lord's timing, I think, is, quite honestly, has been my biggest challenge, because I definitely did not think I was going to be single more than a decade. You know, I was single at 39, and here I'm going on 52, and you know, it's been a journey, and it's been a journey that has been hard at times. It's been a challenge, but I've learned a lot. And I love where I'm at, and you know, to just continue to be who the Lord wants me to be, and you know, and then just kind of go from there. But I love that, Heidi. Thank you so much. Anyone else? I know we've got some of our people on here that generally offer great insight. I know we've got Jennifer and Brian and Fred and Pat and so many others on here that I know also are on here with us. If any of you have any other comments or insights or anything that you'd like to offer, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
We have freedom that is undoubtedly the best source of information that we have. That is the power of prayer.
Amen.
Whenever you have a question, pray about it and listen. Pray about it with all your heart and listen. And Heidi, this is going somewhat to you. When you meet that someone, pray about every person you meet. And the Lord will tell you. The Lord is your best friend.
Okay.
Amen.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think the only thing that I want to add in, and maybe this is directed to you, Heidi, I think that as women, we can be really hard on ourselves, and we've talked about this before. I think that it's not necessary for you to become perfect before you're going to find somebody, because perfect does not exist. And somebody will appreciate you for being you, for who you are, where you are, because they want to be with somebody that's as cool as you. Everybody doesn't see all of the things in us that we feel are imperfect. And I would just, it's hard for me to watch you struggle because I can tell you're a cool girl. And I just wish you could see what other people see in you.
Amen. Amen to that one. I'm right there with her. Oh, Heidi, wonderful woman you are. Right there. Yep. Thank you, Jennifer. I love you. You always say it the best way. There you go. I'm always amening what Jennifer says. I'm telling you. That woman has great insight. All right. Anyone else want to have any other comments or insights you'd like to add?
We're sneaking out of here. We have family here. Gonna be leaving North Carolina.
Thanks for joining. Thank you.
Okay. See y'all.
Appreciate
Oh,
it.
by the way, y'all are welcome on the 22nd of June at 9 a.m.
Yep.
Or at my place that day. Either one. Bye.
Yeah. We even announced it last night, Carl, if that makes you feel any better.
Thank you.
No problem. Talk to you later. All right. Anyone else? Any other comments?
I just want to say that I really love the single adults. I love all of you guys. I mean, it is courage. It's you just gotta keep pressing on, and and just have faith and just turn to the Lord. I mean, the single adult program is there for a reason. It's for us to get together so we can have these eternal partners. And I'm so blessed to have the program, and I pray for all of you to find that peace that you deserve.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Eternal.
Yes,
You're welcome.
definitely. Definitely. All righty. Well, I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight and giving up your Sunday night, or sharing it with me. I don't know if you gave it up, but sharing it with me to be able to talk about this, because I think for many, this is an elephant in the room. Many people do tend to go to single adult events with hopes of meeting or finding somebody, and some do put in a lot of time, and some think, I'll stand at the door. If I just see anybody, great, I'll go in. If not, I'll leave. So I love how everybody, I think each one of you just said, put in the time. Put in the time. Keep showing up. And that's my advice too. Keep showing up, because the Lord's going to bless your efforts. And, trust in His timing, because it can happen. I love you guys. I think you all are awesome. And we'll see you again next week. So Fathers on Father's Day, online dating on the 22nd, and then not 22nd, 23rd. Then on the 29th, we're going to be talking about the single adult program as a whole. And I want you guys kind of giving insights and suggestions and what you'd like to see, what you like, what you don't like, that kind of thing. Right. I'm signing out. I'll see you later. Thanks so much for joining me.